Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that has finally, after a period of, it must be about 2.5 years, it's finally, we are all in the same room.
Yeah.
I know.
It's like a reunion and in the cinema where we first met.
In the cinema.
Yes, I know. I mean, obviously, if you're on YouTube, you can see how far apart we are from each other. But if you just listen to this on audio, we are actually sitting within touching distance of each other. Because even before...
We won't, because we're all sticky. And we're all cling like Velcro to each other if we get too close.
If we get too close. That's because if you remember, I mean, because we've always been doing this remotely anyway.
Yeah.
And I think we've always been, ever since we started, we've been doing it remotely because I left the island. But we're now here, kind of like in the birthplace of this podcast, because this is the first place that we all met.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit emotional. Just a little bit emotional. All right, cool. So we have taken a couple of weeks off because obviously the last time we did a podcast, we were talking about looking forward to what was going to happen and whether we're going to have the Euros 2020 final. And we had the Euros 2020 final, and we finally found out what kind of drunkenness the country was going to have to recover from.
Yeah.
So we've done that. Shaun, okay, Sharon, I know that you were probably just trying to avoid people and avoid all the fury that came after that.
I did watch the final. It gets me every time, you know. I say, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to watch the football. I'm not going to get all geared up and sucked in, and then like, again. Yeah. And then I ended up watching the last bit of the semi-final, and then I thought, I'm not going to watch the final. I'm not going to watch it. And then I came in and I was like, okay, let's watch the final. And so I watched it with my brother, and it was just as devastating as every other time I've ever watched the finals and semi-finals is in the past.
It was further than it has ever been before for a while.
Yeah.
Whoa.
50, 60 years.
In any of our lifetimes.
No, lifetime. Well, yeah, no, in my lifetime.
Yeah. In any of our lifetimes, it's further than they've ever been. And Shaun, how about you? How was it for you?
Me, yeah. I mean, you sort of I could go on for ages about this, but I'd just say, well, I don't know why we didn't continue playing how we played that first 20 minutes. They do that. I've seen that so many times in so many sports. And another sport is American football, and they go and do this thing. Get the lead,
sit
on it, and in American football they call it the prevent defense, right? You know, instead of playing what they were and winning the game, 2 years running, Houston Oilers in the playoffs, right? They were like 40 points ahead at half time, and then they decided they come out the set, but all the time they were pressure, and then they come back and they sat back. And John Elway, who was quarterback at the time, he just picked them apart. Both years, and just absolutely, and they went on to win the game. I think you've got to do what works. You just keep working.
Keep going. Can you explain, because you know more about football than I do, why wasn't that Italian guy who yanked that young player over given a red card?
Well, should have
what do you have to do to make it from a yellow card to a red card?
There's a lot of debate. That should have been a red. That really should have been a red.
Because I think he could have been injured, that young lad.
Yeah,
and I just
threw
thought
him almost, didn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it.
Oh right.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I have seen all the pictures. The pictures. And just in case you're wondering, yes, this is Netflix or cinema. We did promise you movies, and we will get there. But this is important.
Yeah, this is important. So we should have carried on. I think that teams, if you're doing something and it's working in any way, shape or form, you carry on and you don't change horses midstream, I don't think. But maybe the wisdom of the coaching and stuff are different. What do I know?
I do have to admit that when because I wasn't watching it because I was refusing to watch anything because the tension just gets to you. I could feel the tension.
That's why I don't want to watch it, and then I do every time.
I could feel the tension without even watching it, and I could hear my neighbors next door, and when they yelled in the first like 4 minutes or something, and I actually saw the score, I was like, they need another goal. I was like, we need another goal here. But anyway, that is it. That's enough about it. We've gone through. Hopefully, we now have the Olympics coming up.
Olympics and then World Cup.
The World Cup next year. Yeah, we have a bit of a way. But I know even Anna Bishop Yara, she was saying that she was because Shaun, in one of the previous shows you were talking about how like you haven't been able to watch anything in the cinema because there's just so much football on.
Yeah.
And she was saying that she's having the same problem, that you have the playoffs and then the Olympics are gonna come. Don't know when you're gonna make it to cinema. Just don't know when you're gonna make it to cinema. All right, cool. So now let's get on to films. Let us get on to films. All right, sure. Just one thing with that microphone, you've got to point it.
That's all right. I was just doing it while you were talking.
Cool.
But I will point it at me when I'm going to talk.
All right, cool. So we have had this problem. I mean, another reason why it was kind of good that we took a week off is that there wasn't really anything new in cinemas.
No.
There wasn't really anything new in cinemas at this point because obviously we had Fast and Furious 9, everyone was running from that. Then we had Black Widow, and it seems that most people are running from that. So we have managed to cobble together, and I think we've managed to finally, between the three of us, watch the only new things that are in the cinema in the last couple of weeks. And so the only new things that have been in cinema is, I mean, I caught up with Black Widow, but that's by the by. And I think both of you went to see
The Forever Purge.
The Forever Purge.
The Forever Purge that was a preview screening. And you also went to see,
I went to see Deerskin.
Deerskin.
All right.
Which is a French movie.
Yeah.
Was that on a preview?
That wasn't a preview.
Yeah, because
that
I
was
haven't
the same
seen
day
that come
after
out
we've
yet. Because
seen-
I was thinking, I would like to see that, and I haven't.
I got a feeling it might be one of those ones that
That
maybe won't come out. I'm
They'll
thinking.
tickle you with it and then disappear.
I'm thinking it might zip through.
Yeah.
Deerskin might be one of those that just sort of zips right on through and you don't even realize that it's here. Because I didn't even hear about it until you said you've seen it, and I was like, what the heck? What is this film? And I actually went and looked it up, and I think there was one third film that you saw, wasn't there?
There was a third film which I saw, which was Escape Room Tournament. Escape Room Tournament of Champions.
Is it obvious that I have no hope? That I have like zero hope for that film.
Oh dear.
I must have, I got as far as clicking on the description. I think I read about a third of the way down and went, I'm not watching that.
It was our friend Happy John.
Yeah.
Happy John, yes.
Texted me and said, should we go see it? And I said, yeah. And that was about the only thing that was on that we could see that fitted in with the time. So we actually went to see. And
Well, I'm going to see Happy John tomorrow, and I'm going to say, what were you thinking?
yeah, well, I think he quite liked it.
But
he might not have.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking about Escape from Tournament of Champions, right? This is the kind of film that I love. Like, let's imagine for a second that we're actually like, a proper media outfit, and I'm kind of like, the commissioning editor or something like that, or we're a newsroom. Escape from Tournament of Champions is the kind of film that I would send Shaun to go see, just because I would want to hear the anger. I would want to hear the anger and the vitriol that would come out afterwards. It'd be like, how dare you send me to go see that? That's the kind of thing, because it would make brilliant TV, which I'm hoping for. Okay, so, and at home, Sharon said you haven't.
No, I'm still midway through a couple of seasons of different things.
Okay.
So they're coming. They're coming.
All right. Yeah, and although I have to say, you might be happy to hear that Clarkson's Farm has just been commissioned for season 2.
Oh right, yes, I enjoyed Clarkson's
Oh, that was
Farm.
good. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good news. Yeah, I managed to catch up with that one.
Oh, did you? We'll have
No,
to...
I didn't manage to catch
You
up.
didn't
with
catch
that.
up with it.
But
Oh,
I
okay.
did like the look of it. So it's just so much, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
There
there's
is a lot. There is a lot. And Shaun, there is a lot, so much so that I had to make a note of what were the things I have actually seen.
Because I definitely saw some other stuff, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it was.
I just think where it's been these sort of hot, sticky nights, I just haven't wanted to just sit and watch telly.
Yep. I hear you on that. I think some of my telly watching has been at 3 o'clock in the morning with a baby that doesn't want to go to sleep. I'm like, okay, we just plunk you down there, watch something with daddy.
Yeah.
So Shaun, you said that at home you've seen Loki.
I managed to catch Loki. Yeah.
All episodes of Loki. I saw that as well, and I've got Motherland and Fatherhood. Decided to go with a sort of like a parent theme.
Yeah. We can see why.
Parody theme there. All right, cool. So let's kick off with the Forever Purge. So, the Forever Purge, Sharon, if you want to tell us a little bit, I think you're going to be like our Purge correspondent, because I think the last time we saw it, there was a Purge movie out. I think both of you saw it as well.
Yeah, I think I've seen all of them.
Okay, cool. So the Forever Purge, you just want to give us the setting, tell us what it's all about.
Well, the Forever Purge is obviously a part of the Purge franchise, I suppose you'd call it, because there's been multiple sort of incarnations of it.
Yep.
And it is basically set at the end of the last official Purge films. The government, the new founding fathers had been brought down in America, and they had done away with the Purge. And then something has happened in the intervening years And the new founding fathers have decided that they're going to reinstitute the purge again. And so this is the first of the new purges that's starting. And the setup before the Night's Purge is that it's now, our characters that we're following are in Texas, and they are in a ranching community where there are immigrants, legal and illegal, who've come in from Mexico, and they're working in the restaurants, they're working in the ranches, they're working in sort of like minimum wage jobs.
Yeah.
And they're all a bit concerned because this purge is coming. But they begin to notice that there's this symbol has started to appear that are sprayed on walls, a bit like V for Vendetta. You've got this sort of underground symbol that is appearing on everything. And as the film progresses, you understand what the Forever Purge means. So the film progresses like a normal purge film, as in everyone locks down, violent things happen, people try to get in, people get killed, nasty things happen. And then the next day, during the cleanup, instead of it going, this is not a spoiler because that's the name of the film, instead of everyone going back to normal saying, okay, we've had our purge, we'll now go back to being lawful citizens again, they decide, no, we're not going to stop. We want to carry on purging. And so the next morning, when people should be feeling safe, they're all coming out of their homes, and suddenly it's like, nah, I fooled you. And then the violence continues. And it continues in the most obviously grotesque and imaginative and unimaginative ways possible.
Yeah.
And so we then start to see our characters not just fighting for their lives in the night of the purge, but then fighting for their lives in the potential world where there are no limits.
Yeah.
Where the purge confined people to, lawlessness for the 12 hours. It's now they can't put that genie back in the bottle again.
Yeah.
And so we then, chaos ensues, and we watch a lot of running and screaming and bleeding in the next hour and a half.
Okay, all right, cool. There's a little bit of a hint of what you thought about that. Shaun, what did you think about it?
What did I think about it? Okay, well, I don't know really what to say, but I think Sharon said it really, really well with a lot of running around, a lot. It started off quite good. I thought it started off fair. I thought, oh, this looks interesting. This might actually go somewhere. And then it gradually, as the film went on, it got more and more, excuse the words, ridiculous. And I mean, so going from something
that's coming from a
good
purge
premise,
film.
that's coming from from a purge film. So. Yeah, it started off really, really good, and I thought it was quite interesting. I was suckered to think that one of the guys was going to be rather nasty, which turns out not to be nasty. That was well done, because that actually
because you thought he was going to start.
Yeah, you thought he was going to be like the nasty, purgy sort of person.
Essentially Negan.
Yeah, essentially a Negan. Yeah, a quick Negan, I suppose. But again, it just went into farce really, with them trying to, motorbikes and things and running away, and why would you do certain things at certain times? I think the film, and Shannon probably say it a little more about it, I think the film was thrown together really quick because it's a bit of a social commentary on
I think there's a lot of that. I think it was quite obvious that this was a film made during Trump's election year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence that you see scenes of like burning vehicles that look almost like news footage of burning vehicles that we saw during some of those demonstrations.
Like the Capitol sort of like storming riots and
all
stuff.
those sort of things, and there's the wall of the Mexican Tex-Mex wall is strongly featured in this film. And then there's a little bit of role reversal all the way through. So instead of cowboys versus Indians, you then suddenly get the Indians riding to the rescue, or the Native Americans, but to use that parlance from the old films. So you have the Native Americans who become, let's not wait for the cavalry, they are the cavalry in this film. And then you also have, where's a safe place to go? Let's go to Canada, or let's go to Mexico. Because the United States is burning. And so there are a lot of similes, I think, and they're so blunt that they couldn't have been mistaken for anything other than
a real social commentary
about Trump's America. But there's also some things where they act as like, to use an expression, as dumb as a fox, basically. It's like,
silly things. Why would you do that?
There's some things where you think, okay, the purge is over, but if something looks like a trap, smells like a trap, has everything set up, it's like, this is a trap, without having a sign on it saying, this is a trap. Why would you go there and just put your head in it? It's like, you're completely stupid.
That's when that's probably from that point
when it sort of went downhill. So there are moments of like going, why would you do that?
You see that you just gave me an idea for a film, when the things happen, just have Admiral Akbar come, it's a trap!
yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. So, because obviously the Purge have always tried to be social commentary. They always have like
Yes.
this element of social commentary in them.
Yeah.
And then as they go on, the social commentary kind of. But it feels like the first one was kind of a small contained thing, but as it's grown bigger and bigger, there's a point where it goes social commentary, and then that's your social commentary done. Now we want to blow stuff up.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna try and be an action film. So
Yeah.
it's all right. Okay, cool. So how many stars would you give the Forever Purge?
You want to go first, Sharon?
Well, I'm torn between the fact that it didn't universally suck.
No.
Yeah.
So it had some positive points. So I'm going to have to go with our old favourite again. I think I'm going to have to give it a 3.
A
Because
3.
it wasn't, irredeemably rotten.
Mm-hmm.
But there were rotten bits in it.
Yeah. I have to go. I totally agree with everything Sharon said there. It's just there was silly moments, and it was like, why would you do that? But I think perhaps if someone had put a lot more thought into it, it could have been a much better movie. But I think they must have made it really, really sort of super quick. That's the impression I got. It was like, oh, quickly, let's do this now. Well, it's still fresh in people's memories.
Yeah,
So,
it's a bit like there's a film called Songbird, which is all about COVID-19, and I'm like, I haven't seen it, but from everything I've heard, it's not a good film.
No.
And but that was like, you think, man, somebody must have started writing that script like
straight away.
Yeah, off the bat, right.
Yeah, right.
There's a film in this.
It's like there's a film somewhere. Okay, cool. Let's do this. All right, cool. All right, cool. So that is the Forever Purge. Kicked off the Forever Purge. So now we go from cinema and we go on to Netflix and Friends, as is our want. We go home, and I think there's only one place to start, and that is in Loki. That's only one place to start. Loki. So Loki is the third TV series on Disney Plus that Marvel have made that links into the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. And obviously, if you've been following the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know that Loki showing up is a bit weird, but because of the events of Endgame, there's a bit where Loki does something, and this is the jumping off point of this season, where Loki grabs something, he escapes, and then you're introduced to this new authority called the Time Variance Authority.
TVA.
Yeah,
okay.
the TVA. And so
The Time Police.
pretty much they're the Time Police. And so Loki disappears, and when he disappears, almost immediately, this portal opens, these people come out in like almost sort of like riot combat gear, they grab Loki, they take him in, and then he finds out that they take him to this place called the TVA, where none of his powers work, and they tell him that he's a variant, because they say there is a sacred timeline, and anything that goes off the sacred timeline needs to be proved.
Yeah,
You
I love
are,
that word.
yeah.
That's such a cool word that they use, and you can see why with the streams, the time streams like that. You have got to be proved.
You've got to be proved because they have the timeline, then they have a branch going off it, and then the branch has to be pruned to keep the sacred timeline going. And that's where he meets Owen Wilson's character, Mobius, who is kind of like this person who thinks that, oh no, we can still use Loki. Loki can be helpful to us because immediately Loki shows up, like there's a judge, Renslayer, who just goes, prune him, get rid of him. And Owen was like, no, he could help us because somebody has been going through different timelines and has been killing our teams, so we can use his help to actually find out who this person is. So, and there is this very kind of almost 1984 aesthetic about the TVA, where Loki goes in there and it's very, very bureaucratic, and he has to sign they put a whole wad of paper in front of him and they say, sign this to confirm this is everything you've ever said. And he's like, what? And then something prints out and he put another piece of paper for him that says, what? And he has to sign. So I think the first couple of episodes, there's only 6 episodes, but it has a lot of fun with this whole idea of Loki being in this new world and who Loki is now and all that kind of stuff. And it turns out that the essential... you don't know how much you want to say without giving spoilers, but it turns out that Loki is particularly well versed to catch this person that they're trying to, that has been killing off their teams. So, but then as the thing goes on and it just seems like a lot of fun, and then they keep having this whole thing where they cast really good people in tiny roles, like Gugu Mbatha Raw, like Rumi Musaku, like Sasha Lane. They're all in tiny roles, and you're like, there's a reason that this person is in here. And you
Would
can
they waste them on just that when they're...
But this is the thing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Loki, the show, tells you more about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the way they put it in. And that's what I said at the beginning, that Owen Wilson was pretty much playing Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Because the way I looked at it is like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far, there's so many times they could have gone off on all sorts of these weird angles. And if you look at all the fan theories, they'll say, oh, they should do this, they should bring that person and do that thing. And Kevin Feige is kind of like the person who's just pruning all of these other things they could go off and say, no, we got to stay on this, we got to stay on the sacred.
There's too much feathering them.
To be honest, with Owen Wilson, I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit hot and cold, but I really liked him in this.
It's all about how you use it. It's all about how you use it.
And he was used really, really well.
Yeah.
And I found him quite endearing, really. He was quite, he was like the sensible one who. Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to play to someone's strengths, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's like saying you can't treat them like they're like a universal soldier that they'll go anywhere, because some actors just aren't. They have a skill set, and it's like you use that to its best.
The way I would put it is, I remember the film critic Barry Norman. He once said about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said that he loves watching Schwarzenegger movies, which you wouldn't think because he's a highfalutin film critic. But he says because Schwarzenegger is like a human special effect.
Yeah.
And as long as you use him properly, you can have a great film. You can have a great.
And I think Tom Cruise is like that as well. And I think we've had this discussion. I think it was you that picked up on that Tom Cruise, with a good director and a good can produce good movies when it's himself.
When it looks like he has too much power, then it goes off rail. It goes off the rails. So what was I talking about? So with this, and I feel like he's playing Kevin Feige has been putting all these different things, and there has been all this talk about the multiverse that they've been going through, and I think Marvel have trolled people because people have been, now Spider-Man Far From Home, we're gonna have the multiverse, and they got we got you, and there've been all these things, and I think with WandaVision and Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madnesses, and I have gone on record as saying I do not like the idea of the multiverse, because I think that's when the writing gets sloppy. I think that's when
you could do anything you like.
You can do anything you ever like. No consequences. Nobody ever dies. You just like someone is like, oh no, that wasn't right. That was another variant or anything like that. And Marvel, they have come up with possibly the only thing that I would like. Essentially, in the way that they've done it, the way they tend to do things is that they've built it in such a way that where they're going makes sense.
Okay.
Where they're going makes sense, and they have a lot of fun with it. There's a bit, because let's put it this way, there's many different Lokis, and there's a point where Tom Hiddleston's
I was going to say about that. My favourite episode. My favourite episode is the one where they fight the Goliath.
When they fight a Goliath
with the crocodile and all that, and it is, to me. I mean, because the episodes varied a bit in my opinion. Like some were really good, others. That was the one. I think that was the penultimate one as well.
It was the penultimate one, yeah.
And that was just like super fun. That was so good. That was
it's on my watch list. I have to say, gentlemen.
No, honestly, I think the TV series, WandaVision, loved it. Thought it was brilliant. Falcon and the Winter Soldier had problems, but still really, really good going forward. Loki has changed the entire game. So essentially, when you look at the MCU now, what Loki has done has said that essentially there's new rules. There's new rules, and for everybody who was wondering how are they going to top the whole Infinity Saga with Thanos and all that they've come up with something that very well could do it.
Yes,
very well.
And in fact, in that last episode, there's like even a conversation where things like that are actually do come into it.
Yeah, that's a conversation. They come into it and they sort of say this is where it's going to be going.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's
what you can have.
What you can have, and I still don't like the idea of the multiverse.
No, I know.
I still don't like the idea of the multiverse.
I understand.
But I'm intrigued to see what they do with it next. This show has given me a lot more faith.
Yeah.
Even though I had a lot of faith already in Marvel, it's given me a lot more faith in how they tell their stories and how they want to go forward.
Well, it sounds like Loki has done what Black Widow didn't do. As in, I didn't think that, you've seen Black Widow as well.
Yes, I have seen Black Widow.
Apart from the end credit scene, I don't think that Black Widow added anything to the canon.
Added absolutely nothing.
Whereas something like Loki, it's actually adds to the canon and it takes the story forward.
Yes.
Whereas I think that was a prunable branch, I think you could describe Black Widow as.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I watched Black Widow and I finished watching the film, I was just kind of like,
whatever.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what it reminded me of. Remember when we saw Solo, a Star Wars story?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And Solo, a Star Wars story, I was like, okay, it was an alright film.
Yeah, it was alright.
But it's completely unessential. Completely.
Yeah, it does nothing, it adds nothing.
It does nothing, adds nothing. And I think Black Widow is a bit like that.
Yeah.
Even though I have to say one thing about Black Widow is I do feel as if the film, like the first thing you see in Black Widow, I think was filmed last. If for no other reason because of Ray Winston's accent.
Okay.
Because at the beginning when the film actually started, and they had the pre-credit sequence.
Yeah.
And like by the way, very Bond. So like the pre-credits, very Bond sequence. And then this character shows up and he's like, the Russian big guy, and he's like talking, and I was like, who is that? Who is that actor? I was like, who is that guy? Oh, and I was seriously trying to figure
I
out who
didn't
he
think
was.
it was him either at the beginning.
I did not think it was him. And then after I was like, oh my god, that's Ray Winston. Then I was like, all right, I don't know, people are complaining about the accent. The accent's all right. Then later on in the film when he shows up again, you're like, ouch. And I think that they filmed the first thing you see in the film last, because by that time he had a chance to work on it, because later on you're just kind of like,
Don't bother.
Oh,
Why
dude.
bother?
Oh, no. Ow. You should have just done a Hunt for Red in October, done a Sean Connery, and said, yeah, just accept I'm speaking Russian right now.
This is my voice. Live with it.
All right, cool. But okay, so stars for Loki. It's definitely a 4. The question is whether it goes any higher. And I mean, I think the fact that they have already said there's going to be a season 2, which kind of makes me go, oh man, this is what I was worried about.
Yeah.
No one's gonna die. And so I think I'm going to go 4 because of that. But I think they did a brilliant job in taking what could have been nothing and making it really significant.
For me, I think it was very, very, very clever. As I say, I didn't enjoy every episode. I did have
some episodes are slower than
some
others.
episodes were, especially at the beginning. In fact, there was even a start when I was thinking, am I going to finish this? Am I going to finish this? I'm glad I did. I'm really, really glad I did. It was so good because, again, they seem to do that, don't they? They seem to have a really decent payoff at the end. Which is
Marvel
like,
are brilliant at that.
It is worth sticking with it.
And are there some episodic end credit scenes? Because every now and then they threw them in one, didn't they? And they threw them in.
There are end credit sequences, but they move the story forward.
Yeah.
So I think there's one particular end credit sequence that once they do it, it's like, okay, Sean, it starts off with Loki waking up.
Oh, that's right.
And when that end credits, you're like, they have this sort of way of going, okay, now I really want to see what happens next week. Because they were being released week by week. I was like, I really want to see what happens next week.
They did.
And there's some characters that they put in there, and the different versions of Loki.
This makes it worth it. Stay tuned then to when
some of it is genius.
So your score?
So for me personally, I'm going to give it a high 3. It's not quite going to reach a 4 for me because I found it a bit tough going at the start. But the payoff was really good. So I'm just going to give it a 3.
All right, cool. And that's it for Loki on Disney Plus. And now we go back to cinema. And let's see, what else did we talk about? Deerskin.
Or that unmentionable one that I've forgotten already.
Escape Rooms Survivors.
Escape Room
Champions.
Tournament of Champions,
Anyway. Okay, we'll leave that one to the end because that'd be quite fun. So let's talk about,
Let's talk about Deerskin. So all I know about this film, because after you said you've seen this film, and I know it has Jean Dujardin in it, who we all know from The Artists. And I know that it's about a man who gets a leather deerskin jacket, and then this deerskin jacket essentially sends him on a murderous rampage.
That's along that. So it's
not what I was expecting.
Okay, So basically, it starts off. You've got no real background story to. Anyway, he goes up and he says, "I want to buy this jacket," and this old boy pulls the jacket out of it. He says, "There it is, proper deerskin." And he sort of says, "Okay, I'll buy that." He goes, "Oh, by the way, you can have this video camera as well if you want. This is like a free video camera sort of thing." So it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And he goes out and he puts on and he's looking at himself. He goes, "Oh yeah, it's like perfect, lovely." And he's really admiring himself. And he goes to, I should imagine it's the Basque region. I don't know, somewhere in France anyway, up in the hills, like a little village. And he pretends he's like this film producer. And there's this young girl at the bar that says, "Oh, I love editing films. I'm really good. I want to be a film editor." He goes, "Oh right." And he's been, first of all, the jacket, he's in the hotel, and the jacket sort of goes, "Yeah, I'm the best jacket in the world. I want to be the only jacket in the world. So he's going to make and basically, and so anyway."
So the jacket has a voice.
The jacket has
you hear
a
the
voice.
You hear the jacket speak to him.
He's talking. So he's basically obsessed. And then this girl who's the editor, she gets money, because obviously he hasn't got any money, to sort of finance things. And she buys him some deerskin gloves like that. Oh, these are good. And then there's a bit of a scene where, like, in the hotel, where someone has like got a deerskin hat who's dead. So he's got like, so he's gradually covering himself in deerskin. But all the other time, he's getting all these people to, like, starts off with, to get these jackets. He says, "Oh, I'm making this film. What I need you to do is take all your jackets off, put them in the car trunk like that, and then walk away." And the girl gets the things, and she says, "Oh, it's great, I love this stuff." And then he gradually gets more and more, because he wants a jacket. People say, "No, you can't have my jacket," and all that. So he does, like, quite gruesome things, should we say. It's quite good. He hangs about outside the cinema.
Because his jacket wants to be the only jacket
in the world, yeah. And it's
quite unasked, isn't
it? It is. And it's quite visual, and some of the scenes are quite bloody, should we say. Quite funny as well, because he's of course, and this girl that's editing the footage, she's obviously doesn't realise that, you know, what's going on. So
she's escalating.
"Oh, it's great. I love this stuff. I need all this stuff. I need all this stuff." And I won't tell you. The end is quite good. Oh yeah, there's like this young lad that's watching me. He goes, "What are you looking at?" And he throws a stone at this lad and hits him in the head. Anyway, the lad runs off running, and that comes a bit later on. That's sort of early on in the film.
Yeah.
But something happens about that later. So yeah, but. It's a really, really good film. It's a really, really top film, Sharon. And I think if we get a chance to see it, I would definitely love to watch it again. And I do hope it comes to cinemas again, because it's not like it doesn't move on fast, but it's just really, the scenes are just great, you know, especially in the hotel.
Yeah.
And the jacket's on the chair there, and he's like, goes, "You like, it's not, I'm a nice jacket," and he's just like, every time he puts it on, he's like looking at himself, and, you know, "Oh, you like my jacket?" And he gradually covers himself in deerskin. So yeah, it's as I say, it's very atmospheric, and funny. Yeah, it's really quite funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to say really about it. Much that I really, really enjoyed it, and it was really good. And I wish you'd have come to see it with me, because I'd love your idea on it.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing with the guy who directed it, he also directed a film called Rubber. I mean, I'm not sure if you ever saw it.
No.
It's a film, and the film Rubber is a film about a murderous tire. So it's essentially a tire.
Okay.
So I think this guy, I can't remember his name, but
it's Quentin somebody, isn't it? Quentin, same as
Yeah, but he has this sort of surrealist thing about him.
Yeah, definitely surrealist.
Yeah, he has because the film Rubber is about this. It's a desert, and the film sits up, and then this tire gets up and just starts rolling along, and then this tire, you find out, has psychic powers, and then there's people who sort of, like, you know, do things like they throw things at this tire or anything like that. The tire just sort of like hunts them down, and it goes, and then the heads blow up.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I know. I think if you're going to do a film that is that surreal, you need to commit to it, and you need to have some sort of element you need to have some sort of element of like, you know, there needs to be humor in it, because you have to realize it's stupid, but at the same time, so
it's realistic stupid.
Yeah, so it sounds like that this guy has he nailed it again.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely, 100%. I mean, there's a scene in it where he's thinking, what can I use? And he breaks the ceiling fan and gets one of the sort of fins.
Yeah.
And he's driving along the road, sort of sharpening it up. So I can't tell you what that means. And of course, you know, it's like, yeah, it's great. I mean, you could see it sort of happening. You know what I mean? I mean, I know it's surreal, but you could actually see
somebody getting obsessed with something
like that. Yeah, getting that obsessed, and because of where it was out the way so much, it would have taken a while for any sort of authorities to
figure out that this was happening and come and stop it. So it seems to be part of a growing list of clothing horror, of fashion horror.
Oh, it seems to be, doesn't it?
Because there's a film called In Fabric.
Yeah, In Fabric. Yeah, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, it's In Fabric. Where it's a woman who buys a dress, and then the dress slowly starts taking over her life or something.
That's right.
I've read it in novels where that sort of thing has happened, where an item becomes possessed, or it has a sort of certain something.
Ooh,
that's like the hands of Orlak, and I suppose there's a few other ones where someone has their hands you know, the murderous hands
oh,
on
yeah,
their
yeah,
body,
yeah.
and like people
Well,
have their hearts. And all
Going back to the 60s, Tove Jansson wrote about it in one of the Moomin books, where the magician's hat, anyone who puts the hat on, strange things happen to them.
Oh, speaking about her, there's a film being made, a biopic.
Yes,
Being
I'd be interested to see that.
All right, cool. I'd never heard about her because movements are over my head. But anyway, how many stars
that. This
would
is
we
a high
give
4.
Deer?
This is a high 4 star.
A high 4-star for Deerskin. By the way, I'm not writing down these scores, so somebody has got to figure out who wins by the end of it. Someone who's listening to this, write it down and let us know who won this week. All right, cool. So that is 4 stars for Deerskin. And now we go back to Netflix and Friends. And this one is on BBC iPlayer. It's a show called Motherland. And so as you can imagine from the title of the show, it's essentially about a group of mothers. So there's 3 seasons so far, and I watched all 3 of them. So I'm essentially going all 3 of them, because the good thing with British TV shows, which people like Netflix and people like Disney Plus with Loki seem to get, is like, how long is a season? 6 episodes. So that's it. None of this sitting around for 24 episodes, not just to actually find to follow one storyline. So so you can actually go through them quite easy. And Motherland is about a group of mothers who are set somewhere in West London. So they're sort of middle-class mums, and it's about this sort of like hierarchy that they have and all the different things that they have to do when it comes to like taking the kids for this thing at school, or taking the kids for this, or taking the kids for, like, you know, getting this stuff ready for them to go on a school trip, or getting this thing. And it starts off with one woman, Julia, and how she's trying to juggle being being a mum, and all the things she has to juggle. And I think the best thing about this show is the characters. So the characters are brilliant. I think Diane Morgan as Liz is particularly great. And they have, amongst these mums, you have one dad who's a stay-at-home dad, and everything he does is all about his children and everything like that. And he talks about, and essentially he keeps trying to like essentially take on the mantle of what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom. And people are like, you can't do that, you're a man.
Yeah.
But he's like, come on, why can't I do that? I want to be. And you can see that he's always trying to be in with the in-ground, because even with these mums, you have one called Amanda, and she's like kind of like the queen bee. So if this was in high school, she'll be the prom queen.
Right.
And so she's kind of like, you know, rules over everybody, and she's always condescending to everybody, and is always trying to order everybody around. And you can see Kevin really wants to be in with Amanda and all that. And so you have the great thing about this show is the characters and the interplay that they have and the kind of things that they get up to. But this is a show that I think has excelled at making a likable show about extremely unlikable people. Yeah, because Julia, even though you start off and the first thing you see is her rushing, trying to get to school to get her kids in there in time, and then she gets to school and she realizes that she rushed to get them in on a day when there was no school. And she's like, but I need them to be at school because I need to get my stuff done. And so but as the show goes on, you find out that she is a deeply unlikable person. She's like, there's things that she does, the way she treats her own mom, you're just kind of like, what the hell is wrong with this woman? But it still manages to make you feel something for them, makes you enjoy it. And I think the 3rd season particularly, this was filmed during the pandemic, which I think is actually really, really impressive, because the first scene of the 3rd season is essentially a briefing at the school, and at the briefing at the school they have 3 lecterns, and they have like a yellow and green thing written on them, and they're essentially making fun of a coronavirus briefing, but they're giving a briefing about knits and about how they have like a knits infestation, and the way they do it with the questions and everything, you're like, okay, these guys,
They have seen the coronavirus.
they have seen the coronavirus briefings. They know what we're in. They're not going to refer to the fact that there is a coronavirus thing, but but it's just like, you know, a good.
It's a nod.
It's a good nod, and it's a good almost kind of like escape from all the coronavirus stuff that we've had to deal with.
So how many mums are in this then? Is it?
Okay, let's see. There's Julia, there's Liz, there's Kevin, who counts. There is Amanda, there is Anne. Anne is kind of like the put upon one, who she's kind of like
everything, yeah.
well, she's kind of like Amanda's sidekick / punching bag.
Oh yeah.
and those are the main ones. Later on, there is Meg shows up, but I think that the interaction between them is really good, because I always find it really hard to review a comedy without trying to sort of like do a bad version of all the jokes that are in it. But I would say Motherland is definitely worth a watch, especially if anybody has been through that, because I think Claudia and I, my wife and I, we were watching it and we're kind of going, we want to see what our future is going to be like. We want to see what
This is to come.
You want to see what is to come. What is to come. And you see all the different things, and it goes into, and but it does this really good thing. I think the BBC have gotten really good at doing a comedy that sometimes strays into drama, and just is really, really true with some marriages that are breaking up and some people who are trying to present a certain kind of like image to the world, but really behind the scenes it doesn't quite like that. The one thing I don't like about it is that it falls into this thing that happens in a lot of comedies, where when you have a couple who have kids, the dads are useless. The dads are totally useless, and it's all on the mum, and I think that's lazy. I think that's really, really lazy.
It's an easy target, isn't it?
It's an easy thing to do. Like the cliche of the useless dad who's always trying to go off on a jaunt with his mates when his kids need their nappies changed or something like that. But there's some standout scenes in it that we still quote. After watching it, we're still quoting some standout scenes from it. So Motherland as a whole, I would give a 4 out of 5.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think, Sharon, you'd like this. There's one particular episode that centers all around Lee Mead.
All right, yes.
Lee Mead, who was it? Who obviously played Joseph and it was in a TV show ended when he won the role of Joseph on the West End. But they know him because he's a nurse in Holby City.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and he moves into their neighborhood, and there's a whole Halloween episode that centers around one of them trying to meet him, and it's funny. It's
That'd
really
be funny. Yeah, we went to see Lee Mead at the Medina Theatre on the island.
He
was in concert, one of his concert tours.
Ah.
So yeah, we went to see him. So there was all the Lee Meadites going on out there who were.
Yeah, I found out it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
They just love that curly hair.
People like that curly mop. People love themselves some curly mop.
The noughties version of David Essex, isn't he? Basically.
Or Hasselhoff, All right, okay, cool. So that is it for Motherland. 4 stars for Motherland. And now we go to the film that in some ways we have been building up to. To the film that in some ways we have been building up to the crescendo of this film for the entirety of this podcast, the entirety of this episode. And this is Escape Room Tournament of Champions.
I feel like I should have some pick and mix for this.
I think you're probably right.
So okay, I'm not even gonna. Okay, let me try and give a little bit of. So Escape Room. This is a sequel to the film Escape Room.
I never saw the first one.
Yeah, me neither. So. And essentially,
Never heard of the first one.
It was that because Escape Room to me sounded like one of these things that was a. It sounded to me like one of these things where because escape rooms are big now, everybody's doing escape rooms, and it sounds like one of those one-line ideas that somebody jotted on the back of a napkin somewhere, where they were like, "Ooh, what if we had like an escape room where it was like dangerous and it was like a horror movie that people had to escape from this escape room?" And let's make a film about that. Escape rooms are big right now. Let's do that. So. That's what it started like, and I had so somehow this one has got a sequel.
Yeah, it's got a sequel.
Somehow it's got a sequel. It's called Escape Room Tournament of Champions. I have a feeling the plot might be inconsequential. Shaun, tell us what you think.
Okay, hit that button. Right. Okay. So the start of the film comes, and they obviously show clips from I mean, not that I've seen the first one, but they show clips from the first one, and basically all these people got invited to go, obviously in the first one, to go to this competition. It was just an escape room, and obviously a lot of them had died, but some had survived. And then this one, pretty much, this one who survived says, "Oh, it's not finished. It's not finished. We need to. I can't end it. I need to go and I need to the end of it." She goes to see the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist says, "Oh yeah, well, you've got a fear of flying and all that, and we understand why you've got the fear of flying," which comes in a twist at the end. Anyway. Cut a long story short, they're on a train. She persuades this boy to go with her, which obviously managed to escape the first one. And they're on a train, and it just happens to be in this train carriage. And there's certain characters in there. You've got like a sort of punky girl and a leather jacketed guy, and someone who's a bit. So you've got these characters. It just happened to be in this one, and suddenly they go, "Oh, the train! What's that noise?" And the train's just uncoupled, right? So this one carriage is going off somewhere else, and it's like, "Oh, the train's become uncoupled." Do you know what I mean? So they're sort of
what could possibly happen? This is a room. We might have to escape from it.
So yeah, and then
on wheels.
So that's the first thing. So anyway, this train's come down, and all of a sudden it sort of stops and they get sort of knocked down and that. And they've all got, some of them have got these little marks and that, and it all turns out that they've obviously, all of these guys were survivors from
Previous escape
rooms, you know, and they've all got sort of certain traits, I suppose, you know, like super strength, or well, not super strength because that would be silly, but you know, like you've got the strong one and the one that thinks, the girl that thinks all the time, you know,
the one who's good at sorting out puzzles,
and they have to do these exactly. You nailed it. Well, all these puzzles, they've got to get out. So there's all this electric coming. Oh, we've got to get out of this, and oh look, there's words missing on this thing, and it's like, surely you would have noticed that, like, because I mean, and everything, like. Say you're looking at need there, the E would be gone. Oh, you've got to pull. Anyway, so they get out, obviously, and then they get into something else. And, you know, there's all these other things going on, and a couple get. Oh, there's this room. There's this room with lasers.
They get killed horribly.
There's this room with lasers, and they got to walk across tiles. And they're like, oh, you know, don't do that. And if they tread on the wrong tile, these lasers go up and cut people in half. But there's two counters running either side. It's like a bar.
Yeah.
I don't know when they just don't go the counters, you know what I mean? I'm like, why would you spend, and they spend so much time in there. Oh, don't tread on that one. Oh, there's a puzzle here, and it's just like, you have got to be kidding. So, yeah, and it goes on, and some people get killed along the way, and then it all ends up, and then they try to put a funny little twist in at the end, which, oh, right, okay, well, you know, makes your eyebrows raise a bit. So, yeah, as you can say, it's pretty much silly, really. It's really,
come
really.
Back for escape room tournament of champions of champions.
That's a stupid thing. It's like
champions.
Oh look, that's electric. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's electric. They're sort of telling you what it is, and it's obvious what's going on. You know, as I say, and it's like, why would you say that? Oh, that's hot. You know what I mean? Oh look, that's hot. Oh look, that's handy. That thing there is going to work out just right. Oh look. One of these tournament of champions is just lucky enough to have that she doesn't feel any pain. So you know that comes in really handy with some certain.
Oh, that's handy.
That's really really handy if you need to, you know.
What are the odds?
What are the odds of that? You know. Tosin's got his head in his hands, and that's exactly.
Because this is what I was expecting. Because there's something I can't remember this film I saw recently that I remember. Oh, I think it was A Quiet Place 2. Because A Quiet Place 2, even with the problems that film had, there were certain things in it where it managed to make you feel tense. And managed to make you feel what they
wanted you to feel.
Yeah, what the stakes are in this. And I felt like this is the kind of film where they won't try and make you feel what the stakes are. They'll just tell you. They'll be like, oh, this is really dangerous.
That's it, yeah. And there was no character development at all, nothing at all. And just irritating. It was really, really irritating. So yeah, no, you're exactly right, Toes. That's it.
Oh, okay. So how many stars would you give Escape Room Tournament of Champions?
It's got to be. I seriously, it's got to be one of the worsty ones. So I'll give it a 2.
A 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a low 2, because it was just pretty
like
damn poor.
2.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any redeeming features in it. You know, like with some things there might be a good start and then it falls down. But this, right from the word go, was like, do you know what? Rubbish.
That's 2 hours I'm not getting back.
Yeah.
So okay, you went to see this with Happy John. Happy John dragged you along to see this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say drag, but yeah, it was
his idea.
It was his idea.
And it was for something to see as well. It was something to see. You know, he sort of hinted that. He sort of gave me a hint. I thought, yeah, I'd see it, because sometimes you got to see a little bit of badness, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
And it was something to do as I'd not seen, and I was hoping that it would be as bad as I thought it was, so that I could come on there and let you guys know.
You had something to vent about.
Okay, what did Happy John think of it?
Meh. He's very non-committal, isn't he, with everything, really. He's very much, he goes, yeah, it was all right, you know? So, yeah, but it was a meh. I think probably because I was so vitriolic about it, probably, you know, but he might have enjoyed it. I don't really know. He didn't really give me any indication whether it was good or not.
So was this kind of like, you know, Shaun, was this a fidget?
Not quite a fidget one, because thought I constantly tried not to do it, but it was at times laugh out loud one. And I think the other people must have thought, it was actually physical laughter. It was total physical laughter.
You're like,
I was in hysterics, at some points. I thought, I cannot believe you've just
it sounds a bit like me watching Fast and Furious 9.
Yeah.
Because there are bits where I was laughing at the film and I was laughing at, I can't believe how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
I cannot believe. It's not that something on the screen was funny. It was just like, I couldn't believe how ridiculous what it was I was watching was. All right, cool. So that is 2 stars. 2 stars for Escape Room Tournament of Champions. I think Shaun, you've mellowed a bit because I was expecting a lot more of a knife sharpening.
Yeah, I have. I think both ways really. I've sort of measured my extremes a little bit. I've gone down to
All right, cool. And now we get to a final film this week, and that is Fatherhood. This is on Netflix, and this is Kevin Hart, who is. It's a film that's based on a real memoir of a guy called Matt Logelin, I think it is, who. He wrote a book called 2 Kisses for Maddie. Maddie is his daughter, and it's all about the true life story of his wife, who she gave birth, and then 27 hours after she gave birth, she was dead.
Oh golly.
Yeah. So it's like
Not nice.
Yeah, and he wrote this book as a memoir to just sort of like to remember his wife, for his daughter, and essentially chronicling his life as a single dad.
Yeah.
As a single dad bringing up his daughter.
Not just a single dad, but a single dad of a brand new infant
Yeah, exactly.
daughter.
Yeah, single dad from brand new infant. So what he has to do to try and keep the memory of his daughter alive. The title 2 Kisses for Maddie is the way he puts it to bed every night, in that he gives her 1 kiss from me and 1 kiss from mummy. That's that he does, so that she always remembers who her mum was, because obviously she never knew her because her mum died 27 hours after she was born. And that's how the film kicks off. So the film kicks off with I think it kicks off with Kevin Hart at a funeral, and he's giving a eulogy. He's giving a eulogy, and then they go back in flashbacks and they tell the story about the fact that they're expecting the first kid, everything that goes on, and then his wife has an aneurysm and dies, it's about everybody around him, Obviously, it's Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart is known for being a comedian.
Yeah.
And I'll say quite a brash one at that. But he's showing some dramatic chops in the last couple of years with like in the Upside and stuff. There's sometimes when he's shown stuff to say he can do. He can do
there's
something.
There's more to me than
the just
little guy that can.
Yeah, exactly. There's more to me than that. And so in this film, you have Alfre Woodard, who plays his mother-in-law, so his wife's mother. And it's how she's like, no, you cannot do this. You cannot raise this child yourself. You need to leave. I think they're in Boston. You need to leave Boston. You need to come back to Minnesota, where we can raise this kid there, and she can give her family, because it's just going to be you and your friends. And his friends are played by Lil Ray Howery and Anthony Corrigan. And Lil Ray Howery is playing the character that usually Kevin Hart would play. Right. So the one who's always trying to make a joke out of every situation, who you have some scenes where you feel like a lot of things he's saying are improvised, to just try and get stuff out of it. And it's, so he's a character that can get a bit annoying after a while. But he also does provide one of the most heartfelt, funny moments in the film. And it's just really a film about this guy trying to figure it out, trying to figure out parenthood. There's a great bit that shows up in the trailer, where he goes into a room. It's a new parents group, and it's all women there. And they're like, "Oh, sorry, excuse me. This is a group for new mothers." He's like, "Oh, no. It says new parents on the door, and I don't have a clue what I'm doing." He's like, "I don't have a clue what I'm doing." He's like, "Look at this girl. There's stuff that's flying out of her butt. I don't even know what it is. How do I do this? How do I put her to sleep?" And so you have all these bits where it's about him trying to figure it out, and then you go all the way from when she's born to around about when she's 4, and it's just about this man trying, in his words, trying to do right by his wife. Do right by his wife who's dead, because he's trying to sort of like go, I want to do right. I want to, and it's really, I really like this film. I think it's good to see Kevin Hart do something else. There's some bits where they try and shove the current comedy in through Lil Ray Howery, which I don't really think work that well. But I think, generally speaking, it's a bit of a tearjerker. It's a little bit Hallmark. It's a little bit, it's a little bit Hallmark, but generally speaking, I think I quite liked it. I thought it was quite good, and I'll give it a 3 out of 5. But I would recommend. Essentially, it made me want to go find out about the real story and about what actually happened to the guy.
When something like that makes you, when you find a film like that, that's quite good.
Yeah.
You want to research it.
Yeah, you want to actually go find out the real story, what happened, and you want to find out what happened to Maddie now and who she is and all that.
It was a bit like Emperor, the Emperor that we spoke about, that. That made me want to research a bit more, because I'd obviously heard of John Brown, but Emperor, it was good.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'd say for Fatherhood. Especially, one of the things I found is, because obviously Kevin Hart is black. This is a thing with a majority black cast, but the guy who wrote the book is white, and it's like his story is like. And so I was kind of okay, that's kind of interesting. I don't think you could have gotten away with it the other way around. You couldn't have had a book written by a black guy, and then Tom Cruise goes, "Yeah, I want to play him."
I'm going to do that. Yeah.
you can't get away with that. But it's interesting. But yeah, I'd give that a 3 out of 5. And with that, we come to the end of this episode, where I cannot.
I think Loki was a. Oh, sorry.
2 4s.
2 4s. Yeah. So.
Motherland was a 4.
Motherland was a 4, yeah.
And
Fatherhood was a 3.
Was a 3. And then we had 2 3s, a 2, and you gave a high 4 though.
4,
so
yeah.
I still think that home viewing. Well,
I think
this
home
week.
viewing won this week.
Yeah,
probably,
yeah.
Just snipped it this week.
Netflix and Friends, I think, get it this week.
Netflix and
Maybe,
Friends, yeah.
if for no other reason, because of Escape Room, Tournament of Champions.
Champions, yeah, that brought down the averages.
Yes,
but,
anything but a champion. That's Escape Room Tournament of Champions is anything but a champion. All right, cool. So I really don't know if anything is being released next week.
No, I think we got Friday as the Suicide Squad, but that's Friday. So, but
Okay.
next,
Like Friday, as in
Yeah.
2 days from now.
no, Friday week.
Okay, cool. All right.
Friday week. Sorry.
Because I'm guessing it's going to be the whole thing. Now the Olympics are here.
I'm just looking at the posters. All of these posters are not next week.
August,
July the 30th, there is
August the 13th.
One thing on the Thursday though, I have booked my Sparks ticket. So,
Oh, yeah, the Sparks
so
documentary.
that starts at 6:15.
The Edgar Wright Sparks documentary.
So so that starts at 6:15. It cost me a tenner, but it's worth
on
it.
top of your unlimited.
Yeah. That's okay.
Well,
Because
because-
I mean, I was talking to other people who didn't want to go and see it, but if they're not invested, but Sparks have been
Yeah, they've been
since 1972.
You see, now this is the thing. I know nothing about Sparks, but obviously I've heard about Edgar Wright, and he's been banging on about this documentary for. Well, it was supposed to be released, I think, before the pandemic.
Right.
So he's been banging about it for ages, talking about, I want the Sparks thing. So it's made me want to see this film. It's made me want to see whenever I get to see it, wherever that is, to see what this is actually about. But okay, until next week, when we'll try and figure out if there's anything, if cinema has any chance, because I think the Olympics might mean that we might not see.
Yeah.
We might not see it. That's if the Olympics doesn't get called off, because everybody seems to keep catching COVID.
Yeah. And it's no spectators, is it? So it'd be like. It's like a dry Olympics, wouldn't it? In some places?
Yeah.
A prohibition Olympics. You think there's something missing?
I'm interested to see how it works out.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how it works out, but we'll see. But anyway, until next week, when that is, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Yay! You see, you can tell we've done this in person because that was the smoothest we've done that.
Yeah.
smoothest we've done that. Not over Zoom. Actually doing something in person. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.